Do me for hold this L.
Hold this L.
Hold this L.
All right, welcome to Hold This L with your host, Lonnie and Cappel. What's going on, bro? What's going on?
What's up? What's up, Cap? Man, not a lot going on. Just trying to get through. Still suffering from old Hurricane Laura, man. Trying to get through. Waiting to get some electricity, some cable back, some stuff like that. Kind of feeling like I'm living in the Stone Ages a little bit around here. I do have a generator that's kind of keeping us halfway going, but it's definitely an adjustment. Um, with all the stuff they're having to deal with, getting up, filling up generators, and doing all kind of stuff is just it's just crazy, man. But hey, I'm still blessed. No house damage, no vehicle damage, no major damage to anything. So if the worst I got to complain about not having no electricity, I guess I'm doing good.
Cool, that's good to hear. For all the people out there that's listening, we apologize. Last week we didn't have a show, but again, Lonnie just explained why. There's been some technical difficulties with the hurricane. He had some issues, and I wasn't able to get a show going. But we appreciate you coming back and joining us. So for some more sports action. And life happens. It is what it is. We out here doing the best we can. So I'm pretty sure y'all understand. But let's go ahead and jump into some sports because we still got a lot of action. We about to hit 3 different sports that's going on, and that's like a first. We're gonna have all 3 sports going on at one time, and to be able to indulge into it, because we got football about to start, we got basketball going strong, and baseball is going strong. And if you like other sports like UFC and soccer, then that's going strong in some places as well. But we're gonna kick it off with basketball. We in the second round of playoffs. Before we go into the second round and start evaluating this, let's look back at our picks and see how well we did, with our analysis of the first round. So, first round of the playoffs, we had in the East, we had Orlando and Milwaukee. We got that one right. We both said Milwaukee, and we said a sweep, but it was in 5. Nobody expected that first game, but it's all good. Then we had Miami and Indiana. Now that was a little unexpected as far as a sweep. We both went with Miami, of course. I said it was going to be a close game as far as the games themselves, but I said I think I said Miami in 5 or 6. I wasn't expecting a sweep, but the games were just like I expected. They were very close. Like Indiana
Hmm.
played tough with Miami all the way through. They just didn't win any of the games. I think it was one game where Miami just like wiped the floor with them. The rest of the games, you couldn't tell who was going to win the game, until the end with Jimmy Butler, doing what he does. He's a true closer. So Brooklyn, Toronto, we got that one right. We said sweep.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, they wasn't ready. And then Boston and Philly. I was a little off on that one as far as I was right as far as Boston winning in 5. But I said the games were going to be close, like the actual playing of the games. They weren't as close as I thought they were going to be. The first one was okay, the third one was okay, but the last one and the second one was a complete blowout. So that's but we knew Toronto was going to win it, and they did. And then we move over into the West and Denver, Utah. I can't remember what your prediction was, but I remember mine because I said these 2 teams are evenly matched. They going 7. And
Yeah.
was that a series? That was
Yes,
a
it
hell of a
was.
series. Jamal Murray has shown us what kind of player he really is.
Yeah, he the
This
truth.
boy. Whew, I knew he had capabilities I knew he had capabilities because if you follow him, you see he has plenty games where he'll hit 30 and 30 points and like 10 assists or 8 assists, but he's not consistently doing that. So people don't put him in that category or that upper echelon of point guards. But he's
He's
shown that
there
he
now.
can do it. He's shown he
Yeah.
can do it if he has to. Some people still believe Nikola Jokic is the best player on their team. He's not. He's not the best player on the team.
Mm-mm.
I feel like Jamal Murray is the best player on that team, but I feel like them running the offense around Jokic is smart. So it makes it seem as if he's the best person on the team
He's the
because
most talented.
because he can do so much at the size that he is. He's a seven
Exactly.
footer who can handle the ball, he can pass well, he can run the offense. So because he can do all of that, it makes sense to run the offense through him. But Jamal Murray is the best person on that team. When you just talk about scoring, you want to give somebody the ball that can just like take you off the dribble and hit that last second shot. That's Jamal Murray. Um,
Yeah, I
moving
actually
on.
went Jazz. I went Jazz on that series on that series right there, and I must say I didn't expect Jamal Murray to do what Jamal Murray did. I mean, everything
Uh,
everything I expected went right. I figured they would struggle a little bit not having Will Barton. The other X factor that I didn't expect was Gary Harris coming back and being able to finish that series because
yeah,
that
that
made a
mattered. That
difference.
was huge.
That made a
That
difference,
was huge.
especially defensively in that last game. So, that's one of the things I picked them not knowing he was going to come back. I probably would have leaned the other way, but definitely kudos to Jamal Murray. That boy beast.
Yeah, it definitely made a huge difference. They immediately put him in the starting lineup. They just need to get. It's crazy because he's been out he hasn't played in the bubble at all until Game 6,
Right.
and they threw him in the mix immediately. That tells you his value as a defender and on that team. So yeah, that was huge. Then we go. Um, what am I missing? Oh, Clippers and Mavericks. So it started off very competitive, and I believe Porzingis, had a lot to do with them losing some of their passion and fire to win that series against the Clippers. But I also feel like we were a little bit a prisoner of the moment with Luka and what he could actually do. I don't know if people was paying attention to the whole series, but Doc Rivers finally decided to change up how he played Luka, and it finally mattered in the grand scheme of things as far as how they were able to contain him to a certain extent. You're never gonna stop a superstar, and Luka is at this point a superstar. But they start throwing doubles at him. They start getting the ball out of his hands, forcing other people to hit shots. And Dallas is one of those teams where if the side is the side players, if the role players are not hitting shots, then they're not as effective. Kristaps had a lot to do with that because he wasn't there. I believe if he was there, the Clippers would have found a way to still win, because they're just too talented. They're a more talented team than Dallas. When Kristaps went out, even though Luka had that huge game after Kristaps went out, I never believed that they were going to win. I believed that the Clippers were going to come up with a defensive scheme to isolate him. People can point to Luka's ankle. That's not why he wasn't able to do what he was doing. It was more that he couldn't do it all by himself because he had too much defense on the other side of the ball, and he don't have enough people around him to beat a team like the Clippers without Kristaps being there. Even though I don't think they would have won with Kristaps. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna tell you, it was an article I read, I think earlier this week or last week, about Dallas making the statement they need to surround him with some dogs
Yeah.
because I won't put it on his ankle, but if you watch them last couple of games, they beat the crap out of him. You see Marcus Morris? I mean, they was beating the crap out of him. The Clippers made him feel them. And like they say, they don't really have anybody on their team. They don't have a Marcus Morris or somebody like that where you knock Luke on his tail, your teammate gonna come over and dang near get ejected. Like, hey, bro, you got to
Yeah.
keep your hands off of them. They don't have any dogs. So, like you say, Porzingis or no Porzingis, I don't think it matters because you saw the Clippers bring that dog out toward them last couple of games and made them feel them. And Dallas just don't have any dogs right now. That's to me, that's the issue. They're soft. I mean, Luka, don't get me wrong, played hurt and all that stuff, but he still got a little softness about him. He got to toughen up a little bit. And I won't say toughen up because Luka a big dude. People don't realize how big Luka is. Luka's a big dude, but I think you just gotta you gotta get some more around him. And like I say, he'll toughen up. And I'm not when I say toughen up for Luka, not physically but mentally. I think he'll toughen up a lot more mentally and stuff like that. And they'll get some dogs around him. But yeah,
Yeah.
they just didn't have enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how the team is next year. See what kind of acquisitions they get in free agency. What kind of people they. So they have a team. A lot of people don't realize it, but the core of their team is European. Maxi Kleber, Chris Stapps, Luca. Um, I'm missing somebody else. There's somebody else that's European on the team too. Of course, Tim
Boban.
Hardaway not Trey Boban. Of course, Tim Hardaway not Trey Burke not Dorian Finney-Smith. The only person that I would say is like a true hound on that team, and he's not a, and he could possibly be a dog or be somebody that's like an enforcer is Dorian Finney-Smith, but he's the only true defender on that team.
Right.
Tim Hardaway is a finesse player. Trey Burke is a finesse player. Seth Curry is a finesse player. DeLon Wright is a finesse player. JJ Barea, who didn't even play much in that series, is a finesse player. They're
Yep.
all offensive pieces. And then of course Kristaps, Luka. So you're right. They need, and even if you don't want to classify them as dogs like a Marcus Morris, they need high defensive minded people on their team, and they don't really have that. They don't have people who just all about defense and can be about offense, but definitely about defense. Um, because I was watching Kawhi, and Kawhi was scoring at will. The difference
Yeah.
between Kawhi scoring and Luka scoring is Kawhi is a scorer. He's not a facilitator like Luka is. And Luka's game is very similar to LeBron's in how he gets into the paint and he can finish or he can dish out, and he got these shooters around him so he can be successful, which is why he has a lot of assists. The difference between Luka and LeBron and playing that way is about 30 to 40 pounds.
Hmm.
That's the difference. It's not even about like the mentality. If you want to talk about mentality, LeBron mentality was probably very similar to Luka's when he came in. He was a bigger guy, but he wasn't considered mentally tough as well. Luka is not really mentally tough where he needs to be. He's gonna grow, he's gonna get better. But LeBron could take those hits. They didn't affect him like they affect Luka. So Luka is gonna have to
Right.
get bigger because the way he plays, he's going to get beat up. He's not elusive like James Harden. James Harden gets into the paint, but he doesn't get hit because
Right.
he knows how to shake and get around and move, and he doesn't get hit. Luka goes straight at you, and then he gets knocked on his ass. So
Right.
you're right. Everything you said is accurate. He got to get some more meat on his bones and get some mental toughness. Um, I feel like before I go Portland and the Lakers, I feel like I'm missing one. No, I'm not. I'm not missing one, am I?
Mm.
No, okay.
Mm.
So Portland and the Lakers, we both were right on the money with that. We said five. People panicked.
Houston, OKC.
Yes, I knew. I feel like I was missing one, but I'm gonna do them last
Yeah.
because I feel
Yeah.
like that was the best one. Even though Utah and Denver was really good, I feel like Houston Denver was best. But I did forget. So you're right, I did forget. But Lakers, Portland, they they no people like panicked when Portland won their first game. Me and you, we never panicked. We both said Lakers in five, and that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And anybody that want to point to Damian Lillard talking about, oh, he didn't play the last game. So what? He was still gonna get crushed. Like, I mean, people underestimate how good McCollum is. People was the first thing people like to say is, look what McCollum did. If they would have had Dame, then they probably would have crushed him. Nah, Dame would have been the one controlling the ball, and McCollum wouldn't have shot as many shots. That's what would have
Right.
happened. Like you hardly ever see Dame and McCollum go off. It hardly ever happens. It's one or the other. One will go off, and the other will play well. But you see games where you see games where LeBron and AD go off all the time. You see games where Paul George and Kawhi Leonard go off all the time. It's because their games complement each other.
Hmm.
Dame and CJ are the same player, just Dame is better. Neither one of them are facilitators. They're scorers. So when they're both on the court, one is going to dominate the scoring above the other, which is why you never see both of them completely go off. Sometimes you do, but it's very rare. LeBron can go off because he can put up points, then he can get rebounds, then he can assist. AD can go off because he's getting rebounds. He's gonna score. He's gonna block shots and steals. Like they neither one of them have that kind of game. So
Right.
that's why if Dame would have played, McCollum wouldn't have went off. Or if McCollum would have went off, Dame wouldn't have went off, more than likely. So, we knew it was gonna happen with the Lakers. You got anything to add to that, cuz?
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, I mean, it was what it was. And to be honest with you, if you watch game five, they actually played well. Portland played well without Dame.
They did.
They
They did.
just got beat. I mean, they were just overmatched, man. I mean, it was as simple as that. They just weren't good enough.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we get to Houston and OKC. Go ahead, shoot, man. Go ahead. I mean, we know the outcome, but what's your final thoughts on that?
Disappointed, very
Mm.
disappointed in the end at Chris Paul. Watching that game, especially game seven. I think Chris Paul took one shot in the final 8 minutes of game seven. James Harden could hit the side of a brick wall. I mean, they had every opportunity to win that game, and this is my thing. Lugan Dortz scores 30 for you, and James Harden plays like crap, and you lose that game. You can't let that happen. When you got to take advantage of a Lugan's Dort giving you 30 points, being on fire, and shutting down James Harden. Basically, you got to take advantage of that as a Chris Paul and take over that game at the end. To me, it's like you didn't even try. I was a little. I mean, not surprised that Houston won, but very surprised that because I've said every time we've talked about that series, if those games are close at the end, that's going to be the difference. OKC has that Chris Paul. Chris Paul will do it. And I expected it for sure. Surely in game seven, when that game was close, I'm like, uh-oh. Houston finna go home. And don't get me wrong, I wanted them to go home because I wanted the Lakers to play OKC. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I was just a little disappointed. Not surprised by the outcome, but definitely disappointed because I thought Chris Paul, if the game was it went exactly how I predicted it would be close at the end. I felt like he would take over, and he didn't.
Yeah. I wasn't really disappointed only because I just didn't really I wasn't really I wasn't really rooting for either one. I thought OKC was gonna win, so that was my pick. So if you want to say I was rooting for one, then I was rooting for OKC just to say I got it right. But in the very end of it, I wasn't really disappointed, and I wasn't surprised. So I'm with you on that one. Wasn't surprised because we knew that Houston was supposed to win, but we both felt OKC was not going to be an easy out. And I'm with you on that game seven. Everything everything about that game made me feel like OKC was going to win. Um, I was a little disappointed in the last minutes of the game. I feel like Chris Paul does deserve some of the blame for how the offense was run the last minutes of the game and not being successful and even getting the shot off, or getting the ball passed in or whatever. Missing that easy floater, that I say easy, it's not probably not for me, but like I mean, when you make the comment, a couple of games before, some people built for this. You know, you can't come back and not be successful in the very moments that you need to be built for it. You feel me? And we know Chris
Right.
Paul is built for it. We know he's built for it. We know that you're not going to be 100% and be batting 1,000 every time you go out in those situations. But you just made that statement 2 days before when y'all won. So it looked kind of bad that you weren't able to capitalize. But I got to give Houston credit because they won it on their defense. That's not something that normally happens with this D'Antoni team. The defense is never something that we bring to the light as far as being a positive. It's always the reason why they lost, and it was the reason they won. The one thing I do want to say though is y'all got to stop giving James Harden a pass. I don't care that he made that last block. The boy did not come through in an important game seven again. He's a choke artist until he comes through in a game where it matters, doing what he does, which is score and putting the team on his back and say, "Come with me." Y'all got to stop giving that boy a pass. When I say y'all, I'm not talking about you, cuz I'm just talking about people in general. Like nobody wants because he the one that made the block. People want to say, "Oh, they won the game." You know what? Everything ain't about wins and losses when we talk about individual players. And James Harden is one of those players we put at the top. Some people think this boy is number two or number three in the league. If LeBron
Right.
James would have played that bad and made the block at the end, nobody would be giving that boy a pass.
Right.
And some
Right.
of the other players, Giannis wouldn't get a pass for that. I don't believe. Maybe, who knows? But I'm just saying, he played terrible. He made a good play. You get credit for making that play, but you played terrible. To be completely honest, if Lou Dortz would have gave him a little pump fake and took a step up, we may be having a whole nother conversation because James Harden would have flew into the stands trying to block the shot. But that's
Right.
just a conversation for another day. So Houston, they did their thing. I give them credit for the way they played. Now,
Yeah, big shout out to Houston. Hold before you go on, man. I saw yesterday Houston has been the best defensive team in the bubble. Big shout out, bro. That was something that was very surprising to me. Did not expect that. But they have been it ain't a fluke. It ain't a fluke, y'all. Houston has been playing D. They're playing D. They're the best defensive team in the bubble. It is not a fluke. They held the Lakers to 97 points the other night. It is not a fluke. Them boys are playing defense.
well, we can start there since we moved on to the second round. I'm not gonna say it's not a fluke just yet because OKC is also one of the um is not one of the most efficient offenses either.
No,
So
but I didn't say playoffs. They've been one of the best defensive teams in the bubble the whole time. They have been the number one defense.
I don't really count the bubble as a whole. You know, you right as far as the stats go, but I'm talking about moving forward. I want to see them play defense against a team who high powered over a period of time before I say, okay, their defensive mindedness has changed, definitely. But I want to see how this goes, you know, with the Lakers and see how the defense goes. But the stats are undeniable. You're right. They have been very efficient, you know, on the defensive side of the ball. But in this particular series, it's game one. I'm pretty sure people are already panicking like they did, or not panicking, but they feeling themselves if they are going against the Lakers because of this game. This game one. Same thing happened with, you know, not same thing as far as a blowout, but the same thing happened as far as them losing with Portland. It's about, you know, playing, making adjustments, coming back. You know, players like LeBron, they got Rondo back. you know, Green, Vogel is an experienced coach. They have a game plan. Sometimes the game plan don't work. You know, you also got to take into account the boys been out for a little while. That affects some teams other
Mm-hmm.
ways in ways that don't affect others. Houston coming off, they've been playing the game every other day. They just jump back in it. So all that stuff matters. Let's see what happens tonight. I got this series going six. Um, what about you? What you thinking?
Man, I kind of got it going. Man, I'm looking at seven. I'm hoping it ain't
Yeah.
going seven. But I'm thinking seven. Six would to me would be the probably the logical way to go. But I'm saying seven. I just got a feeling. It's. I don't know what it is about Houston. It's funny, and I just give them a lot of props for the way they playing defense, man. And I say that because they're not known for playing defense. One thing we know that's why I'm so high on the fact that they're even playing defense, not to be the number one rated defense in the bubble, but we talking about a Mike D'Antoni team being even in a conversation about playing defense. You know that in itself for me is impressive, and I'm expecting to see James Harden have a couple of good games this series. But what it comes down to, bro, if Houston can hit shots, it's going 7 games. Houston is. We can talk about their defense and blah blah blah, all that stuff. Houston got to make shots. When Houston's making shots, they're good. If they're not making shots, they're trash. You can't put it one way. They don't have anybody that can take it down low that you're gonna put in the paint. They're not gonna have a lot of paint scoring. It's gonna come down if they're knocking down threes or not. If they're knocking down threes, it's gonna be tough to beat them. I don't care who you are or what team it is. But if they're not hitting those shots, I mean, it's gonna be a cakewalk.
So, and that's why I say six because I look at how they played against OKC, not on the defensive side, on the offensive side, and they weren't consistent with how they hit shots. Like if you go back and look at a lot of those games, you know, I think there was one, maybe two games. I think there was at least one game where they didn't even score 100 points, and that's very uncharacteristic of a Houston Rockets team. I could be a little bit off with that, but I don't think I am. But anyways, the reason why I feel like it's gonna go six is because their defense your defense is good as your scheme. And when you have a player like AD and LeBron, AD at 6'11", I think LeBron at 6'9", who are just unstoppable in general, and then you are very height challenged, unless Frank Vogel is not able to like put together the right offensive scheme, or unless the players just don't capitalize and do what they're supposed to do, I don't see how Houston's going to be able to stop them. I see how Lakers are going to be able to stop Houston. The Lakers, you couple good defense with not hitting shots. Because the thing is like if you're taking high percentage shots, because most of your shots are coming, you know, outside of the paint, those are higher percentage shots. So you gotta look at the odds of being able to hit those shots consistently and with somebody in your face. Because Lakers play good defense. So the odds against the Rockets, in my opinion, are higher because of those factors. The Lakers can get lots of shots in the paint, but they also have a good shooting team. Not as great as the Rockets, but they have shooters. So I feel like in the grand scheme of things, it's gonna go six simply because I don't feel like Houston just has enough, you know, to defend the Lakers. They had enough to defend OKC because outside of Steven Adams, who's a 7 footer, he's not a scorer. He's slow. He can't defend. But when you take him off the court, even with him on the court, because he wasn't a threat offensively, when you definitely took him off the court, you playing basically a fair game with Houston.
Right.
No big men, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's like, you know, now we on the same level. And then with Steven Adams in the game, even though we not on the same level height wise, you're not a factor when it comes to offense. So we don't have
Right.
to worry about you as much. And that's why I think the difference is going to be with the Lakers is they're not going to be able to handle LeBron and Davis in the paint when it comes down to it, which we're gonna see tonight, you know. So let's go to the East. Boston Raptors. What's your thoughts?
Man, it's been a good series, man. Been a good series, bro. It's been the best one so far. As far as the last the teams that are left. And I'm gonna tell you something, Kyle Lowry showing up, bro. Kyle Lowry the real deal. And I remember I told you
Yeah.
when we first started talking about these playoffs, when we were talking about Siakam being the difference. And I'm like, nah, it's gonna be Kyle Lowry. He's the engine that runs that team. His play is what's gonna tell you when he plays well, the Rockets tend to win. I think
Yeah.
Siakam is on his way to that stardom, but mentally he ain't there yet. You know, it's the playoffs. It's that you got to be that dude, that dog, that guy that take the last shot. It's Kyle Lowry,
Yeah.
and he's showing up and he's doing it. But I'm gonna tell you that Boston team, bro, they're a team. There's no, you know, Tatum. Tatum is the real deal. Jaylen Brown, but they're a team, bro. I mean, on any night, you got four guys that can give you 30. And I say four guys because I got to mention Marcus Smart. You know, it ain't something he's gonna do on a consistent basis, but something he is capable of if you let him get hot. So along with him going with Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker, bro, it's just a team. It's an overall. These are the two, to me, the two best teams. The way they're put together and the way they're coached with Nick Nurse and Brad Stevens, they're just, man, it's gonna be a battle. I think 7 games all the way. This is going 7, and every one of them is gonna be a
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah, it's going 7, and you know people again panicking. Oh, Boston, they gonna sweep these boys. Nah, I said if Toronto win Game 3, I think me and you was talking. I said if Toronto win Game 3, then I think it's gonna go 7, because people, you know, don't realize games go down 2-0 all the time. It's the only difference is that we're in a bubble and they're not really true. They're not truly home away games. So if you can capitalize off of, you know, being down 2-0 and coming back and making it 2-2, you got a chance. It happens all the time. It is
Mm-hmm.
not uncommon to go down 2-0 and then come back and win the series, which Raptors are showing us that they is now 2-2. They're backwards against the wall. But you were right in your analysis of like Kyle Lowry, but I still think Siakam is the difference. The reason why I say the difference is because Kyle Lowry is consistent. Siakam is the future of that team because of what he can, because of his ceiling. He's not there yet. I thought these playoffs was gonna like bring that out of him, and it remains to be seen. He may blossom, you know, if they continue to go further into the playoffs and be that star that they need him to be. But Kyle Lowry's consistent. So he's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to come and play. That's been something that he's been doing for the last 3-4 years. Even last year in the playoffs, that, you know, I think it was the game before they sealed the deal in the finals where he went off. Kawhi Leonard wasn't even a factor. It was Kyle Lowry that's like just went off. Like, he's always been a player that does that. So he's not going to be the difference. He's the engine. But if Siakam don't play well, they will lose. Look at the games that they lost. He didn't play well. The games that they won, he played well. They need him to play well because Kyle Lowry is only going to be able to do so much. Fred VanVleet, he's had, I think besides that first game where he played completely terrible, he's played pretty well. But I think Siakam, because of what he does, because of how he scores, because he makes it difficult for the other team when he's driving the lane, he's biting people up. Like Kyle Lowry is finesse. He's like, get by you real quick, lay it up. You know, that's it's easy to continue to play against him. Somebody like Jason Tatum, like Pascal Siakam is not a Jason Tatum, but the way that they play is similar. They both can shoot. They both shoot the ball, but they both take you. They both slashers. They go to the basket. Just Jason Tatum does it at a higher clip. So Siakam, if Siakam does not play well, they are going to lose. Even if Kyle Lowry does play well, because even in the games where they lost, that first game, the whole team played terrible for the Raptors. Even though Kyle Lowry turned it up in the second half, it wasn't enough to even get them close. But Kyle Lowry has not played bad since. But the game that they lost, Siakam played bad, and they still lost. So I feel like Siakam is the difference. But you're right, Kyle Lowry is the engine that makes that team go. If Kyle Lowry has a bad game, they definitely losing. So the consistency still needs to be there. I say Raptors. We didn't talk about it, but for myself, I was always team Raptors as far as this series go. I do think it's going 7, just like you, but I think it's going Raptors. What did you say? I don't remember. You said Raptors or Celtics?
No, I'm going Celtics, man. I'm going Celtics.
Okay.
I still think the Celtics gonna pull it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I say you, Jason Tatum better get his game on because the last 2 games he hadn't played well. And when I say played well, I'm not. If you look at the stats, you'd be like, "Oh, this boy had 20-something points." Or no, you can see the game and it can tell if a person is playing well compared to if they didn't. Jason Tatum has to be the leader on that team. Like you're right, anybody on that team can score 30 at any given time, but for that game to be controlled by the Celtics, it needs to be Jason Tatum.
He got to be the guy.
The one that's lead. Even if he's not the leading scorer, he has to be scoring that game because like we saw Kemba kill it the game before, they still lost. You know, because
he got to be the best player on the floor. He got to be the best player. Because I'm gonna tell you what's happened. If you watched all 4 games, the 2 games Boston Celtics won, Jason Tatum was the best player on the floor. The 2 games Toronto Raptors won, Kyle Lowry was the best player on the floor. It's as simple as that. Whichever star, like, and they both got a couple of guys that you can consider on their way to being stars. But one of those, whoever has the guy on the team because they're that evenly matched, whoever has the best player on the floor that night, most likely their team is going to win. Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be interesting moving forward. They got this 2-2. We're gonna see what's going to happen. I definitely think this game going 7 though, regardless who's going to win. Let's go ahead and stay in the East. We should have started off with this game because it just seems to be like not much to discuss. Bucks, Heat.
It's already over.
Yeah, it's over because it's over because it's 3-0. Even if the Greek Freak and the Bucks win today, I don't think they got enough to be able to beat the Heat 4 in a row. I actually chose the Heat for this. I didn't choose them in the sweep, but the Heat has been my pick. The 76ers were my pick at the beginning, just more of a hope that they were going to start playing together. But that was also when we first entered the bubble, and it was also when Ben Simmons was still playing. But once these playoffs started, I chose the Heat to come out of the East. So I'm not surprised that they are winning and playing where they're playing. What I am surprised at is the fact that they up 3-0 and that the Bucks don't have an answer for, Jimmy Butler or just the team in general. Like Jimmy Butler is killing it, but Bam is too. I mean, Tyler Hero coming off the bench is doing well. I'm like, Jay Crowder's hitting threes. I said this on one of our shows. I think it was 2 shows ago. The Bucks team, I didn't feel like they were going to make it to the finals. Not even make it to the finals. Definitely not represent the East in the finals because their team reminds me too much of LeBron's Cleveland Cavaliers teams. You have these great seasons because you're playing teams one at a time, every other day or every 3 days or whatever. The teams don't game plan for you the same way in the playoffs. They're able to game plan for you. They're able to, to figure out a way to stop, certain schemes. And the way that the Bucks play is through Giannis, who still doesn't have the best jump shot. He still depends on trying to get into the paint and score. And Middleton to me was like a Mo Williams, a good player, But if you put him on another team, he's probably not an all-star. I feel like he's an all-star because he's playing with Giannis and because the opportunities that he has as a player to be the number two and the shots that he gets. He's a good player, but I don't see him as a real all-star. I see him as a type of player who can have an all-star year, and that's what Mo Williams was. He had an all-star, couple of all-star years, and then I look at the rest of that team. It reminds me of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is where you have to make a distinction between why LeBron is a greater player than Giannis, and why he's probably not. And Giannis is probably not going to ever ascend to the same heights as LeBron. LeBron was able to take his team when he was playing in the East with a Detroit team that had, who they had, and the Boston Celtics team that had who they had, and still he made it to the finals with the Spurs with their team. And they got swept. But the fact that he was able to claw through the East and get there, that's something Giannis is not going to be able to do with this team. You look at the Miami Heat, they're a good team. But I wouldn't say that the Miami Heat is a better team than that Detroit Pistons team that LeBron was going against at that time, or the Boston Celtics team that he was going against at that time. But let's not make this about Giannis and LeBron. Okay, so my point is I never felt like he was going to win, but I'm very surprised at the Heat. Like, they just surprising me. I mean, more and more every series they get to. They hadn't lost a game.
Well, this is the thing. When we talk about, especially in the playoffs, we talk about matchups. Well, this is the thing. The Heat do the best what the Bucks do the worst. And people don't realize that. The Heat set a playoff record or broke the playoff record for their team for 3-pointers last game. I think they had 22 of them or something like that. Well, you got to understand, as good of a defensive teams as the Bucks are, they're the worst team in the league at defending the three. Guess who's the best team right now shooting the three? Miami. Bro, they don't have a chance. That's why they're getting mashed. That's why they're looking so unmatched. So, because what they're terrible at, Miami's really, really good at. That's why I don't look like you're looking at it like 3-0. What's going on? It's just, people say stats don't mean anything. Stats mean a lot. The Bucks don't defend the three well. They don't defend the three. They're not very. The Bucks are big. They defend, and I think me and you talked about this. They defend the paint well, not the three. And guess what? They're wearing them out, bro. They are tearing them up. Jimmy Butler ain't even really been playing that great. He hasn't had to.
He has. He has.
Let me rephrase that.
One
when
game
I say,
where he didn't play that great,
but they won. But what I mean is, like, he not out there having to put up 50. The first game he did have 40. Yeah, but no, the first game he had 40. He went off. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't miss. Think he only would miss 2 threes. He was like 11 or 20 or 12 or 20 or something like that. I mean, he went off. But he ain't just having to, like, put up 40 and 50-point games with 8 or 9 assists. Like, the whole team, they tearing them up. And then you got Bam Adebayo, who's just as athletically gifted and can move with Giannis, and he's just as big. Yeah. So you got somebody who can kind of challenge him at the rim and play him at the rim. So, I mean, when I just look at all that, I mean, it's matchups. Man, when it comes up to Miami Heat matchup, great. They actually match up better with the Bucks than any other team.
Yeah, I feel like the matchup works for the Heat because of Giannis' shortcomings. If Giannis could shoot, then this would be a different series, because it comes down to the end of the game. Like, these games have been pretty close. I think the first game wasn't as close. I don't think it was a blowout, but I don't think it might have been a blowout, but it wasn't close. The last 2 games have been close games. The last game, Jimmy Butler completely took over. So if you watch the games as a whole, you don't see that the Bucks are completely outmatched, because these games are close. The Bucks have lost these games at the end, and that's where people have been looking at Giannis. Like, you have to put the team on your back and you have to carry them. The problem is a lot of times when these games get close and it's the end, you have to be able to make shots. You can't depend on getting into the paint. And he ain't been able to get into the paint with ease the whole series. He gets into the paint, periodically, but not with ease. And he's not making the big shots at the end, and nobody else is stepping up and making the big shots at the end. And the difference is that Heat, They have people that can make big shots, but Jimmy Butler, 2 out of 3 games, has taken over the fourth quarter, and the Bucks have had no answer for him. And it's been honestly, it hasn't even been the defense of the Bucks. That as far as like the drop off with the threes at the end for Jimmy Butler been taking them off the dribble, hitting mid range shots, driving to the basket. Like he's just completely taken over the game. 2 out of the 3 games at the very end. Jimmy Butler's the X factor. I hate to bring this up, but see, Brett Brown, you probably never gonna ever see this, but or hear this. But how did you let Jimmy Butler go? Like
Yeah.
I don't even understand it. How did you let him go? But that's beside the point. So I honestly I feel like the Bucks gonna win this game because they back against the wall. Historically, a really good team like the Bucks will not get swept. Um, but I don't see it going past 5. I think Game 5 is gonna be the end of the Bucks season. What's your thoughts?
I'm gonna make this one quick and simple. I think they're gonna get swept. I think it's gonna be a sweep tonight. I think like Giannis is already clicked out. I mean, I think he's the ultimate competitor. I do. I really do. I think he's one of those guys that don't like to go team up with this person and that person all season, gonna work out with this and that person. But I think mentally he's checked out. I already think he is. He's gone.
Why though? What,
I think
why do you think he checked out?
because he's down 3-0, and I don't. And I mean, I give him a good enough credit to say he's a student of the game. Giannis is a pretty good student of the game. He's aware it's probably over for him, and not just in this series, but in Milwaukee. Period. People are already talking about. I mean, we talking about after the game too. After going down 2-0, people start talking about where you're going next year. Those
Yeah,
things tend to get leaked. Those things are not just people are just guessing. Those people start talking about that stuff because the stuff start getting talked about behind closed doors.
yeah. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's leaked. I think people are making stories up. And one of the reasons I think that is because if you look at Giannis and his character and how he's been throughout his career, he's never been one to make you believe that he's having these kind of conversations and then come back and say like his demeanor tells me like even like when he says stuff like that's what coach wanted us to do, that's what coach wanted us to do, like he's a great talent, he's a great player, one of the best in the game, but unlike most other superstars, he seems to be a true like I'm riding with what the team want, I'm riding with what coach want. And the other thing, the reason why I said it is because they asked a question to a guy when I was watching the game the other day, about he was responding to a question about Giannis going to another team next year, talking about the fits, like you said, there's already reports saying that the Warriors would be a good fit and such and such and other teams would be a good fit, and he was like, so where is this coming from? Because you're hearing this, like, has this something that's coming out is coming out of their camp, or is this something that people are speculating? The guy responded with a question that went all over the world, but at the end of the day, his response meant this is what people are speculating because that's what's common. Because people are connecting the dots from the past of when players like LeBron and KD and whoever else couldn't win it with the teams that they were with. They started to look into free agency and they end up leaving. So the expectation is that Giannis follows the same path because he's on a team that seemingly can't win. I honestly don't believe he said a word to anybody about what he's doing next year and where he's going. I'll be completely honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of those players that dedicates his career to Milwaukee. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of those players that dedicates his career to Milwaukee
I
because
would.
he's not a. Let me tell you why. Because he's not American. He's not American. He didn't come up with the culture that our American players have when it comes to sports. Now it doesn't mean that it can't taint him. It doesn't mean that he's going to stay. I'm just saying that's the reason why I feel like he may be of a different breed. I mean, you look at you still got some players like Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard dedicating his career to Portland, and he know what he up against. I feel like Giannis is going to be one of those players that dedicate his career to Milwaukee, at least in this next contract signing. But we'll see. We don't know. Of course, we'll see. But I really feel like he's not the one that's putting anything out there. I feel like people are just connecting dots from stuff that had happened in the past.
No, and let me be clear about that. I don't think it's him. I don't think he said anything. I think it's the people. When I say leaks, Leaks come from people around you, based
I,
off of what
but
they
that
hear
but
you.
that
And I don't think he's ever. What I mean is, I don't think he's come out and said, "I'm leaving," or "I'm going here," or "I'm going there." But I think behind closed door, you'll hear some, "Man, this sucks,"
well
and
that's what I
this,
that's
and
I hear you, and I just don't think that he's. I don't think his mindset is leaving Milwaukee. Is that? I guess that's what I'm really getting at. I don't think his mindset is against leaving Milwaukee.
I don't
So,
either. But
yeah,
I know one thing about Giannis that I feel that's more important than being loyal to Milwaukee. The dude's a competitor and he wants to win.
yes, and
I
I think
see him
see,
going right now. I'm gonna tell you my pick, and I read this the other day. This is where, and I'm gonna call this. This is where I think if he leaves, this is where he goes. The Miami Heat.
but do you think he's gonna leave?
Yes.
I don't. Let's remember this conversation.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
come back
absolutely,
when
absolutely.
he signs. Let's remember this conversation and come back to it. I don't. I just don't think he's. I think he's. You got several types of competitors. You got competitors who want to win and then they go chase the victory. Then you got competitors who want to win and they make it happen. And you look at somebody like LeBron, you could talk about the factors that were involved with him leaving Cleveland. I understand why he left. It wasn't just all about that he felt like he needed better players, and it was also a part of the administration. They didn't bring in the right players. They wasn't putting in the work that they needed to create a team around him. So he left. I get that, but at the grand scheme of things, you got people who want to win, but they're not going to go join somebody else to win just to say yes, we did it. You
Hmm.
know, you got people who stay dedicated to where they are, and they say, you know what, I'm not going nowhere. We're gonna do this right here. I see him as that type of person when it comes to competition. I don't see him as the let's go. I'm gonna go play with this team. It's a better fit for me to be able to win championships. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with either way. You do what you do. I just think people have different opinions about, how they want to win. Like I say, I bring Dame Lillard up. Dame Lillard's that type of person was like, you know what? I want to win, but I'm not going to win at the expense of going to join up with somebody else. I'm staying loyal to this team and this organization who's treated me well, and we're going to win here. And if we don't, it is what it is. That's what I feel like. I really believe that about Giannis. His character, the way he carries himself, how he talks, everything about him tells me that he's gonna stay in Milwaukee. But we'll see. We'll see. Um, so Clippers, Denver. What's your thoughts on this series?
Man, I don't see the I don't see Denver beating the Clippers. I think it's gonna be a battle. I think it's gonna be a hell of a series, man. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Like I say, if you would have told me that Jamal Murray is gonna play like he just did that last series, I'm telling you, I don't have a clue. But is he going to consistently be able to bring it like that game in and game out against the Clippers? It's one thing to do it against Utah, and not really playing against a team that really don't have no defense versus doing it against Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or Pat Bev, people like that. If you told me, if you could tell me right now Jamal Murray's going to play like like he played last series, I would give them a chance to beat the Clippers. But I don't see it happening. I see this going 6 games. I see the Clippers winning this in 6.
Yeah, I want to say that too. I want to say that too. I want to say the Clippers in six, but it's something there that's gonna make me say seven because after that first game, I was like, is this a product of Denver, being tired? They played a 7 game series and they played like the even though it was a 7 game series like Houston to OKC, it feels like Denver and Utah game. It feel like it went longer. Like it feel like it was
Yeah.
more minutes in the game. And it just feels like I don't know. It just feels different. So I was wondering, was it some lag in there? Was it truly that they just outmatched? But after this game that happened yesterday, I feel like that's more the Denver we're gonna see against the Clippers. I
Hmm.
don't feel like the score is going to be more of what we see because they pretty much was a commanding the lead was pretty much on big and the throughout the game. They end up losing by like I think 9 or 10 or 11, but a lot of that game they was up by 20, 15 to 20 points. So I don't feel like that's going to be the norm. But I feel like the way that the Nuggets came out to play is going to be the norm. Jamal Murray had 27. Jokic murdered it. Boy had 24 and 10 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Now he didn't do nearly as great as he did in the first half and the second half, but I feel like that was a lot to do with scheme. They made adjustments. The Clippers did, but then you know what happened? Other players start to show up. Paul Millsap this is a better matchup for Millsap. It's like I don't know if you're paying attention, but he didn't get hardly no touches, no shots, not a lot of time in the first series against Utah. In this series, he's playing more time. He's getting more shots because he's more effective against the way the Clippers play on basketball and their bigs down low. So Paul Millsap is a factor in this game. He's doing well. Gary Harris is back now. He wasn't back for Utah, even though he was playing and he did affect the game defensively. But he's back now. He had 13 points. He's a 3 and D guy, and he hit 4 out of 8 3-pointers yesterday.
Right.
So I think that's the Denver we saw throughout the year.
Right.
And now you have Michael Porter, who's a bona fide scorer coming off your bench, who
Playing
they were
well.
dependent on. They were dependent on him to be a starter and a scorer earlier. They realized that he's not ready to be a starter because he's a defensive liability. But on that second unit coming in and scoring, he had 11 and 7 in 16 minutes. 11 and 7. So this and of course Will Barton's not there. When he comes back, it's gonna make him even stronger. But if they continue to play like that, which I believe they will, this is going to be a game 7. I still say Clippers in 7, but I want Denver to win. And it's not because I don't want the Lakers to play the Clippers. I don't care if the Lakers play the Clippers because I feel like the Lakers are going to win. The reason why I want the Clippers to lose is because I want people to take the Clippers off their high horse that they don't deserve to have.
Right.
Like, people are acting like the Clippers deserve all this, they're the best team in the league and Kawhi's the best player in the league. I hate to hear stuff. I hate to hear that because I'm 100% against it. Whether you believe Anthony Davis is the best player or LeBron is the best player or Giannis is the best player is your opinion. But when you start, taking somebody like Kawhi, my personal opinion, when you start taking somebody like Kawhi and you put him over a person like LeBron, and then you start saying stuff like, he took 2 teams to the finals and he didn't team hopping, bro. Kawhi went to the finals with 2 teams, but he was not the leader of those teams. When I say leader, I'm talking about he didn't make those teams better. These teams were already good. Toronto was a team that was killing it without him, and he helped them get over the hump. Credit to him. Clippers were really good without a superstar. Like didn't they take the Warriors to 6 games, and it wasn't an easy 6 games, and that was without Paul George and Kawhi. They were a well-built team. He just helped take them over the hump. Stop comparing the greatness of Kawhi to the greatness of LeBron. They're not the same. Kawhi is great, but he's not the best player in the league. So that's my personal bias of why I want them to lose. They lose in the second round, you got to drop them down a step. You can't put them up there because you can't even get out the second round. Anyways, that's my thoughts on that. I know I've been rambling a little bit.
No, you good, bro.
Biases in the mix.
You good with that one.
Let's move on to a little football. I know we've been talking for a while. We're probably close to time, but we got to talk about football because the season is upon us. And what Thursday next week is we got our first football game?
Yeah, man, I think so, bro. I got a fantasy draft tonight, this evening, and I think me and you got one tomorrow.
We both got.
We got 2
and tomorrow.
No, we got one. Yeah, it's tonight and tomorrow. I got 2 tomorrow. Yeah, I got 2 tomorrow. Yeah. I got 1 tonight and 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just in 2 this year. Normally I do about 4 or 5. I'm like, you know what? It's too much uncertainty with the season for me to be putting all this money into fantasy, so I'm gonna stick with a couple, and hopefully the season goes through. But yeah, I'm excited about those drafts. But before we get there, let's just kind of talk about some picks for football. Who you got making it to the Super Bowl this year? Assuming everything stays the way it's going to be, assuming that we have no COVID outbreaks and the league don't get shut down. I know we can say that, it's going to be people that catch COVID, they're going to be out for 13 games 14 days or whatever. Let's not even address that part. Let's just talk about as if the season starts on Thursday, and it continues through the Super Bowl. Who you got?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I have no idea as to who my NFC AFC team is. Clearly my NFC team. I mean, guys. I mean, if you're looking at my background, I don't think you have to take too many guesses on who I think is coming out of the NFC. 49ers. I see us going back. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. Didn't lose anything really from the teams. I know a lot of other teams got better. I'm a little worried about, not worried, but I think the Bucks are going to be pretty good. But I don't see any other teams that really did a whole lot to set themselves apart or catch up to us. Even thinking, I mean, we lost Emmanuel Sanders. Only thing I'm really worried about is not having Debo for a little while, which has been several weeks since he broke his foot. Might get him back sooner in the season than I was expecting. So, I mean, other than that, I see us having a great team. And, I mean, to be honest with you, coming out of the AFC, man, I think it's going to be a battle. It's a lot of good teams. I like Tennessee. I like Houston. I like the Browns. I really like the Browns, actually. But most likely Kansas City. I mean, to me, Kansas City got better. I mean, they won the championship, and to me, they got better at running back. They got some more pieces. I think they're even better. So if I had to make my two picks right now, I'm going to say Kansas City and San Francisco.
Yeah. So before I even give my analysis about who I think will win the Super Bowl, the Saints is a team that I want to be there, and they have everything that they need to make it to the Super Bowl. But I'm not making my pick based on the fact that that's my team. I'm trying to break this down as unbiased as possible because the Saints have a really good team. So it's hard to like not put that extra edge onto my team. But I'm gonna try. So I'm gonna start off with the AFC because that's easy. The Chiefs. The Chiefs definitely gonna be in the Super Bowl in my opinion. I don't see anybody that's gonna be able to stop him. I don't see the AFC as being a good conference. They don't have a lot of great teams in my opinion. I know you said they had some good teams. In my opinion, they don't have a lot of good teams. They have. I see the Texans being good, but they to me they worse because they lost DeAndre Hopkins. I have to see Watson be better with the group that he has. I know they got David Johnson. I know what he used to do. I don't know if they're going to use him the way he needs to be used to be effective like he used to be in Arizona. So I can't really say that they got better. I'm going to say that they got a little bit worse. Buffalo, they still don't have enough pieces. I know they signed Stephon Diggs. I feel like they the same team that they were because I don't feel like Josh Allen is going to take a step up. I feel like what we see from Josh Allen is what we're going to get. I don't think he's going to ascend to be this great quarterback. He's a running quarterback. He's not very accurate. You give him pieces, that's great, but are those pieces are only be as effective as he allows them to be with his play. So until he shows that he can be an accurate quarterback and not depend so much on his legs, I don't have faith in Buffalo. Um, who else? Tennessee. I feel like they're a good team, but again, it's gonna come back to Ryan Tannehill. Those teams that have good running games in the season, they're very difficult to duplicate that next season because it's easier to game plan against your run if that's all you have. And I get Derrick Henry is a beast, but Ryan Tannehill is going to have to become a bigger beast than he was last year. He's going to have to be more than he was for that team to continue the run that they were on last year and go further. So I don't really have that much faith in Tennessee. Um, who else is there? Like, the AFC to me is a easy team. I mean, the Patriots, I give the Patriots respect to be in a playoff simply because of Bill Belichick. And I like the signing of Cam Newton. And Cam Newton has shown that he can take a team with not a lot of weapons very far. He's even took a team to the Super Bowl with not a lot of weapons. And he definitely doesn't have a lot of weapons. But even New England is a toss-up of how well they're going to do because they probably have the most players on the team that matter that opted out.
Yeah.
So they, who knows what they're gonna look like. I can't see the Chiefs. I mean, man, the Chiefs may run the damn table.
Yeah, I think
you know,
I think we're gonna be surprised with the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals this year. I think those two teams are gonna
um,
surprise a lot of people.
that may be true, And I was gonna get to Baltimore. Outside of Baltimore, that's the only team
Yeah,
that I see that can challenge Kansas City. I don't even know if they play this year because they were both first place, so they're gonna play this year. We'll see what they look like against each other. But Baltimore, I mean, I don't see any other team. Cleveland has to show it to me. See, like teams got good pieces, but I'm going off of what I've seen and then how teams added to their team. Cleveland has to show me they're good, so I won't put them in the category of being a good team. Cincinnati may be better because what's his name?
Who Burrow?
Hold on, cuz
Are you
my
talking about?
headphones went out. Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, I got these wireless earbuds and they went out for a second. Cincinnati, Joe Burrows is going to be good in my opinion. Cincinnati is going to be better, but I don't think they're going to be a team that contends for playoff position. So when it comes down to it, it's Kansas City, Baltimore. Kansas City is my pick. When it comes to the NFC, they're loaded. The NFC is loaded.
yeah,
You got the Bucks, the Saints. Who knows how Atlanta's going to play because Atlanta has good years and bad years because they always have offensive pieces. Who knows how good they're gonna play? But I'll leave them out. You got the Bucks, you got the Saints, you got Minnesota, you got Green Bay, you got the Bears who have the pieces to be great if Trubisky does well. Then you have the 49ers. You have the Rams. I don't care if they didn't have a great season last year. They still have pieces to be a really good team. You have Seattle, who's a beast. Who am I missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Did I say Green Bay? I said
yeah,
Green Bay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
And
say,
then of course Arizona. Arizona started playing really well, and then now
hmm
you got DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And they got some good defensive pieces. And Kyler Murray is going to be a good quarterback. You
right.
know what I'm saying? So, like, the NFC? That's a tough one. If I had to guess, this is why this is so hard. The reason why I'm hesitant to say the 49ers is because historically teams that have a great defense, it's hard for them to duplicate how great that defense is the next year. Doesn't
You're
mean they're
right.
not going to be good, but they usually are not as good. So in my opinion, the 49ers, what's going to determine their ascendance to continue to be good and get to the Super Bowl is going to be the offense and Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he going to grow as a passer and be better this year? I know people say he can do it, and people say they had such a good running game that he didn't need to be the quarterback that people think he's not. But I think this year he's going to have to prove that. I think that this year defenses are going to prepare for the running game. That's also another thing. Running teams who have good running games, when they have really great running games, not good, really great running games, it's hard for them to sustain that year to year to year because teams game plan and they try to take that away from you, so they force you to be different. Very rarely do you have a team lead the league in rushing year after year after year after year. It's usually a different team every year because schemes change. So I don't anticipate I don't anticipate the 49ers being the best rushing team like they were last year. They may be good, but I don't anticipate them being the best rushing team. So I feel like what are the adjustments that the 49ers are going to make on the offensive side of the ball. So that's the worry I have for them. When I look at Green Bay, I wonder if Aaron Rodgers is taking a step back because he's getting older, or is he actually still really good? And now that he has a little bit more, not a lot, he has another year in that offense. He has a healthy man, what's that boy name? The wide receiver for Green Bay.
Oh, you talking about
Devontae Adams. He has a healthy
Devontae Adams?
Devontae
Yeah,
Adams to start the year. He has a bona fide running back who he doesn't have to worry about who's the running back, and they have a good defense. Like, are they going to take a step further, this year? I wonder that.
yeah.
I look at Minnesota. Minnesota's a beast. And then they just drafted by our LSU compadre Jordan Jefferson, to be alongside of Adam Thielen. So I wonder about them. And then of course, they running back is a beast. I didn't even say Dallas. That's why I forgot that. I knew I forgot their conference. I hate Dallas, but Dallas probably has the most talent on their team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
Is Mike Holmgren the coach that's going to get them to play the way they need to play? Because Dallas, for the last 3-4 years, it's never been about talent. It's been about coaching. Dallas could very well be the best team in the NFC,
Hey,
And I hate to say that.
not to interrupt you. Mike McCarthy.
Oh, yeah, I said Mike
Yeah.
Holmgren. My bad. Mike McCarthy. Yeah. Mike McCarthy. Yeah. But is he going to be the coach that really gets that team to do what they need to do? They have all the talent in the world. So, man, this is really hard. If I had to just throw one out there, I'm going to say I'm going to say 49ers. I'm going to go on the same. I'm going to be on the same page as you, simply because their defense is really good, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than most people think, and he has young talent that's ascending. So somebody like Deebo Samuel, who was a rookie last year, played excellent. I expect him to be up on the upper echelon of wide receivers this year. I see, because Kyle Shanahan is a offensive-minded quarterback who likes to throw the ball, and I think he didn't throw the ball as much as because he was letting Jimmy Garoppolo grow. Eventually, he's going to take the training wheels off and try to
And
let
let
him
him
be a
go.
quarterback. So because of that, I'm going to say 49ers have the upper hand. But I'm going to say right behind that is my Saints. I mean, I can't not mention them, because them getting a bona fide number 2 in Emmanuel Sanders and then bringing back everybody else. Michael Thomas, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver because he's the most productive, not because he's actually the best talent. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a better talent. I think Julio Jones is a better talent. But the production that Michael Thomas gives and the way that Drew Brees and him work together, nobody's going to outproduce him, and he's going to still. And now he has a number 2 on the side of him, as
Right,
well
right.
as they still have good tight end production, and then they still have the running backs in Kamara, and so I really see San Francisco right now as 1A and Saints 1B. I know I hadn't mentioned the Bucks, but I don't care about Tom Brady being who he is with the pieces he got. I need to see it.
Right,
I
right.
have a reason to feel like that he's falling off as a quarterback. And if you falling off as a quarterback, sometimes the pieces around you don't matter. So I need to see it.
Well,
They made me Super
they just
Bowl.
got Leonard Fournette too, so that
That
might
don't
help him
matter
a
to
little
me
bit. But
either.
I wanna chime in a little bit and say something else. And it's something I just want to give. And I don't know how it's gonna work because heck, we ain't been able to get him on the field. But it's another reason why I picked the 49ers. It's not necessarily just because it's a lot of bias. Don't get me wrong, but we got better. Our defense got better. I can't right off the top of my head think about who we picked up. We lost to Forrest Buckner, but we got somebody to replace him that was just as good, if not better. Actually, our defense was good enough last year. DeForest Buckner couldn't get on the field, and we got better. We also added Trent Williams from Washington. So our offensive line got better. And we also have Jerick McKinnon coming back. See, people tend to forget about Jerick McKinnon a couple of years ago in Minnesota. The boy was cutting up. Of course, we hadn't had him in the last 2 years, but from everything I've read, he's healthy. He's ready. That's another dynamic to put in that Shanahan offense with that zone read offense, having Jerick McKinnon. We played really, really well last year, and we got to the Super Bowl, and we got better. We didn't take a step back in no way, shape, form, or fashion. We actually got better. We lost Emmanuel Sanders, but everybody who watched last year know he wasn't that much of a factor. We didn't pass the ball a lot anyway. So, to be honest with you, that's my reasoning behind it. Is it's just not a lot of teams that I can look at and say, hey, they got better. Some stayed the same.
It's not
Some
a lot.
no, but
It's
it's
four.
some.
It's 5 teams that I can look at that say they got better that could actually propel them to be a Super Bowl team. The Bucks
Right,
clearly the Bucks. Okay,
right.
then Seattle added. I forgot who they added. But they added. It was on
Jamal
offense.
Adams. They
Oh yeah,
added
they added
Jamal
him. I
Adams.
forgot about they added him on defense. But so Seattle clearly got better. The Saints got better. Like
Yeah,
I can't
they
remember who
did.
just signed on defense, but Emmanuel Sanders by himself,
Major,
he wasn't a
yes.
factor for San Francisco because Kyle Shanahan didn't make him a factor for San Francisco
Yeah, we
because of
just
the way
didn't
y'all
throw
ran
the
your
ball.
offense.
Right.
But he's a factor for the Saints because of the way that we play offense. So
Yeah.
we got better. And Dallas got better because they got a new leader. And when you look at their drafting CeeDee Lamb with the offense, with the wide receivers they already had, they got better. So
Yeah.
I feel like all those additions could propel each one of those teams to having a dominant season and getting to the Super Bowl. That's why I say the NFC is so loaded. The
It's
AFC to
stacked.
me is like is really really weak. The NFC though, wow, man. I mean, I don't know who gonna make it to the Super Bowl. It's gonna be very difficult, very very difficult.
Yeah.
Like I say, we got the same picks. We got the Chiefs and the 49ers for the most part. Like I say, I think the Saints is a 1B. It's a close second behind 49ers, but I'm going to ride with the 49ers and we'll see what happens. On to a little bit of fantasy. So we're going to talk about, I want to talk about like regular fantasy because we got football coming up. We've been talking for a while. It's a long show, but we need to get this in.
We'll make it quick.
We got our drafts coming up. I mean, I'm not going to give too much information to you because we draft together and I ain't trying to put nothing in your ear. You know what I'm saying? but I mean, I'm excited about our drafts coming up. I'll throw out a couple of names. I mean,
feel free.
We going against each other, but we always share information anyways. And, we draft in different places, so a lot of times we're on the same page. But when it comes to like picks and stuff, I'm really, who I like, I'm not going to get because I know my draft order, but who I like, I love Saquon Barkley this year. I love Christian McCaffrey. I actually like Saquon Barkley over Christian McCaffrey a little bit. The reason why is because I don't know how much Christian McCaffrey is going to be used with this new coach. Like, we don't know if he's going to run him in the ground like the old coach did. He may not get as many touches because he may not want to expose him as much. They just paid him. You know what I'm saying? They just gave him all that money, you know. So they may run their offense a little bit more conservative as far as like not throwing him as much and having him run the ball as much. Maybe try to add in another running back or Teddy Bridgewater. He's not a bad quarterback. He can throw the ball. So who knows? That dynamic right there is enough for me to go with Saquon first. We know what the Giants are going to do with Saquon. We know how they're going to use him, and he's going to be used. He's going to be used. And I feel like with them coming back fresh with their wide receivers, with Shepard and his new kid, I can't remember his name. He kind of hit the scene a little bit last year. I can't remember his name. And then having a tight end back healthy, I feel like the weapons that they have are going to allow Saquon to be a little bit more productive, because last year they didn't really have any weapons besides him, so it was easier for teams to key in on him. But it's going to be a little bit harder for them to key in on him because you still got good weapons that the quarterback's going to be able to throw to. So I like Saquon. That's my number one pick, even though I won't be able to get him. Wide receivers is stacked, man.
Bruh. That's what I was just thinking about. Stacked. Bro, I'm like, man, oh my goodness. You just kind of stated the obvious, as far as those going to be the number two picks. Yeah. Those two people you just named going to be number 1 and 2 off the board. I want to throw out a couple of people that nobody's probably thinking about. I mean, unless you really, because be honest with you, I got to do a lot of research today. Not knowing if it was going to be in football season, not knowing, heck, I just found out last week that I was going to be in fantasy football leagues. Literally, both of us just found out last week we were going to be playing fantasy. So, I mean, I haven't been up on it like I would say I normally am. But it's some people that I'm thinking about that I'm actually going to kind of ask you this because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm just looking at, some of the draft boards, and they got people like Austin Eckler going in round 2. Am I tripping? Am I missing something?
What you mean?
Austin Eckler gonna be the starter for the Chargers.
Melvin Gordon is with the Broncos.
No, I know that.
They didn't pick anybody. So Austin Eckler, when you think about how well Austin Eckler played with the same coach before Melvin Gordon came, Austin Eckler was a top running back when you look at fantasy production. Yeah, fantasy production, he was a top running back.
No, I agree. I had him last year. But is this somebody that's going to be your everyday running back that you take with the first pick in the second round?
See, that's questions that you have to think about when you draft in the lower part of the draft, because if your philosophy is running backs, it's not going to be much left if you're at the bottom part of the draft. So if you're going to go running backs, you got to think about how do you feel about Austin Eckler. You got to research like what other options do they have also. If you look at the options and you say, man, they literally don't have anybody else, then you can safely assume that he's the number 1, 2. I mean, he's the number 1 back, and he's going to be a 3-down back. he basically was a 3-down back when Melvin Gordon was out. And when Melvin
True.
Gordon came back, he went more to a 3rd down back, but they still used him a lot on 1st and 2nd down. They didn't just completely go to Melvin Gordon. So I don't know how I feel about Austin Eckler, especially with Tyrod Taylor as the quarterback. That's a huge difference than Phillip Rivers, who can push the ball down the field. Tyrod Taylor is starting. He was announced already that he's starting. So that new guy, Justin Herbert, he's not starting right now. Tyrod Taylor's never been known to be a passing quarterback to where you feel threatened to have to, like, not protect the run and really defend the wide receivers, even though he has weapons and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and Henry's coming back. I don't know how I feel about drafting Austin Eckler with Tyrod Taylor as a quarterback. So if he falls to you, you got a decision to make based on what's available. But at this point, I think that boy is the number 1 running back. I think
I mean,
he's
like I
the
say,
number 1 running back and a 3-down running back.
yeah, because PPR wise and everything, don't get me wrong. And let me be clear about this. I'm not saying Austin Eckler is trash. I'm just saying, can he sustain or being a 3-down back throughout the league? And is he worth that type of pick? Is he worth a 2nd-round pick?
I can pretty much be confident in saying I don't think he's going to be my pick. I feel like I can be confident in saying, but somebody's going to pick him, and that's the thing you have to look at is when you pick in that position, is this is the value that he's going to give you better than the value of other players? Somebody's
Right.
going to pick him. He may drop to the 3rd round. See, that's the thing about it. A lot of people haven't done research. These projections that you're looking at are based off of what people are drafting, but the people that you're drafting with, like, they may not have done a lot of research either, because nobody knew we were going to be doing the league until last week. And if that's the case, Austin Eckler in the 3rd round, I'll take that. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it
Right.
just
Yeah, I
depends.
would. I'll take that too.
I'm gonna say this name. I wasn't gonna say it, and if it end up biting me, it is what it is. We do a show, so I can't be keeping stuff to myself. But my the dark horse that I have for this year, as far as fantasy goes, is a rookie. People are not talking about him, probably because people are not talking about football. But if you got a chance to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Chiefs, you better take it.
You stole my pick.
Oh man, because I'm not gonna rush to get him, because who knows what that Chief offense is gonna look like? Because Damon Williams is good for that offense, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna erase him from that lineup. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire can do everything Damon Williams does and better. He's
Mm-hmm.
bigger, he's faster, he can run between the tackles, he can catch just as good. So that's my player this year as far as my dark horse. I feel like that when they picked him, I was like, what the hell? Like, they
Right.
already got so many pieces. The one piece that you can say was weakness was running back.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. You can't say that anymore. So I don't know. I feel like he is going to be a great addition to that team, and I feel like they're going to start using him right off the bat. I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting day 1. I hadn't done a lot of research, so I don't even know what they look like in training camp. But I feel like he's definitely going to be a hell of a pickup this year. You got any other ones? They got
I
plenty
got
of them. Yeah,
I got
go
one
ahead.
that I felt it was gonna be him last year. Because of the way he fell. And of course it didn't hurt me as bad as I thought it would, but it hurt me bad enough. But this year, I think he's gonna come back and kind of show us what he's made of. I don't think he's gonna be what he used to be, but I think he'll be a hell of a fantasy pick. Ty Gurley.
You know, I'm glad you brought him up, because I need to think about him before we draft. Because you know how I felt about him last year. I was
Right.
like, people sleeping on Todd Gurley, and he was out, and he back, he healthy. His knee is not, like, his knee is supposed to be 100%, and whether his knee was 100% or not, I don't know. But when he ran the ball, the boy looked like he was healthy. I don't know why they didn't play him as much, but it pissed me off because I kind of went in hard on Todd Gurley, knowing that he would drop,
Or I did.
and he did not have a good year simply because they wouldn't allow him to. But I can't see that happening with Atlanta. They signed him to a good contract. They know how good he is. They need him because they
Mm-hmm.
don't have a running back, you know. And He's from Atlanta. He's from Georgia. He's home. So I feel like Matt Ryan is a better quarterback than Jordan Goff. And I feel like Matt Ryan has better weapons than Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. And I feel like the field is going to be wide open for Todd Gurley.
Well, this is the thing. This is what I thought about with it. Running backs, he went through a physical and extensive. Atlanta did their research.
Mm-hmm. Had to, yeah.
Teams don't pick up running backs less than a week after they get cut with knee injuries. Let's just be honest with you. If his knee was a question, he is not getting signed by the Falcons. And he clearly put it out there with videos and stuff on how he was working. But the Falcons, it was something else was going on in Los Angeles. Let's just be honest with you about it. He got cut right at the end of after the season was over. There was something internal going on that we don't know about that was never said, but there was more to that with him not playing. There was more to that than just his health. Because like you say, he looked perfectly fine when he got the ball. I think it was more to that. I think it was a way of justifying getting rid of him and not wanting to pay him that money.
Yeah.
I really think that had more to do with it than him not being physically able to do it. Because like I say, he didn't last on the market a week.
Yeah, when you saw him playing, it's like either this dude got a super high pain tolerance or he healthy, because he did not run like a person who had a knee injury and he was still not 100%. When he was in the game, when he ran, that boy ran like the normal Todd Gurley. Mm-hmm. It's just that he didn't get the opportunities. He didn't get the touches.
It's like they made it a point not to give him the ball. It's like they were trying not to give him the ball. To be honest with you, they weren't running the ball, period. It wasn't like they were pulling Todd Gurley and giving the ball to somebody else. They weren't running the ball at all.
Exactly. So he's definitely somebody I'm looking at. And, I mean, depending on where I'm drafting, it's my other league.
I didn't want to say his name.
League,
I didn't want to say his name to you, but I figured I needed to get a fans. I had to help him out. I had to put it out there.
You draft before me in the first one anyway, so if that's somebody you want, it ain't like I can do anything about it. It's safe.
Yes, you can.
Say, no, I can't. Well, for the next one. You talking about the one tomorrow?
No, I'm talking about the one today. Just because I draft before you, when it comes back around, you're going to have back-to-back picks.
You do realize, though, that he's not going to make it back to you if you don't get him the first round anyway. I seriously thought that he would make it to
he
the
will.
second round.
He would.
You think so?
Not with you. Yeah, with you being in that pick, probably not.
Listen, I'm drafting. Listen, we talking personal stuff. We need to, finish this because we've been talking for a while. Like,
yeah, we have. That's what we do.
You got anything else with fantasy? Like, I mean, we don't really have a lot to talk about with fantasy. We'll be honest with you. We have been neglecting football because we didn't know how this was going to go. So we haven't been really researching a lot outside of the normal people that we know are going to be good. We haven't really researched a lot of people. Like I said earlier, Melvin Gordon with the Broncos. I like Melvin Gordon with the Broncos. He's probably going to be a 3-down back with them. They needed somebody. They didn't have anybody. If you're looking at, I'm just talking about running backs that outside of the obvious picks. Buffalo, I sincerely hope that they're going to go straight to Devin Singletary, mm-hmm. Because when he was on the field, he was clearly the best running back. But not only was he the best running back, he was a productive one. If they make the switch to make Devin Singletary the number one running back, 3-down running back, that may be a dark horse too. That may be a sleeper. I love Cleveland's running back, Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb this year. I don't worry about Kareem Hunt being there. I don't. Kareem Hunt is somebody you can add later in the drafts if he's available, but I don't worry about him being in the backfield with Nick Chubb. You got any other picks? I mean, I don't want to dominate. So if you got something, just throw them out there.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna just give a couple because we need to wrap up the show. But I'm gonna throw out a couple of wide receivers people need to keep an eye on this year. And they're no names. You're gonna be able to get them super late, but they're gonna produce. Well, maybe one of them not as late. Carlos Sutton for the Denver Broncos. Keep an eye on Christian Kirk for the Arizona Cardinals. Watch that kid. Watch him this year. He'll be available very, very, very late. You'll be able to get him in late rounds, and I'm telling you, he will be the number 2 this year.
One that you didn't say that I know you're gonna be paying attention to, and that other people need to be paying attention to is Debo Samuel. Debo Samuel can finish in the top 10. You probably didn't want me to say that.
I wasn't talking about
Uh,
him.
yeah, I know you wouldn't, but I'm putting it out there that Debo Samuel is that type of beast wide receiver that is a number one, and that if the 49ers become more of a passing threat, which I expect them to throw the ball more this year, Debo Samuel could easily be a top 10 wide receiver. And he's going to be a little bit later in the draft, too. He's not going to go super early. So be paying attention to that, too. Don't be mad if you're on my team, cuz. I'm just letting you know how I'm thinking straight up. It is what it is.
It's all good. It's all good. We're going to have to stretch to get him.
We got 2 drafts. If I get it 1 out of 2, I'll be okay. Anyway, that's all we got for y'all, man. This is Lonnie and Cappel and Hold This L. And it's a long show, but, hopefully y'all wrote it all the way through. And we'll be back next week to let y'all know how our drafts go and see how the playoffs going. And we'll be able to talk some football, because when we come back, the first set of games will be on their way. So we out.
We out. Later.